Hello there, Dr. Zakir with you. So, this is part 4 video of orbital complication secondary to rhinosinusitis. In this part, we are going to deal mainly with the treatment. So, before starting the treatment, it's always best that you please do watch part 1, part 2, part 3 so that you have a better understanding of treatment. So, let me summarize that once the infection had reached the eye, it's in different stages, that is preseptal orbital cellulitis, postseptal orbital cellulitis, subperiosteal abscess, orbital abscess and cavernous sinus thrombosis. I would like to tell you the first 2 stages we are going to manage medically. The last 3 stages we are going to manage with surgery. That doesn't mean that the first 2 stages is going to be medical only, because what happens sometimes that after admission we have seen in a few cases that in spite of the proper treatment, the second stage it can proceed to the third stage. Second stage being medical treatment, third stage being surgical treatment. It can proceed from second stage, third stage treatment. So what happens is we cannot predict which stage whether he will proceed or not in spite of giving a good complete antibiotic coverage. So we have to be extra cautious. So once the eye vision is involved, is not able to see properly, we have very less time to save his eye. Book says approximately about 90 minutes to 100 minutes. So before that we have to release the pressure over the optic nerve. Otherwise the patient is going to lose his eyes. So the main point is now the admission, we have decided that first the patient need to be admitted. So as soon as the patient is admitted, the first thing we are going to tell them is that you have to be NPO, nil per orally, because you have a CT scan to be done, and followed by we have to decide whether you need surgery or not. Both for CT scan with contrast and for surgery they have to be nil per orally. Then let us discuss in 2 headings. One is the medical treatment, another one is surgical management. Now the medical management. The medical management, it starts with admission, and we will start with a broad spectrum IV antibiotic. As soon as the nasal swab culture report has come, which says that one particular antibiotic has to be given, we'll add up or we'll start with that antibiotic or we'll replace with that antibiotic. And of course, we'll get painkillers too. We'll do a nasal endoscopy. At the same time, we'll do a nice nasal suctioning, and we'd like to keep nasal decongestion soaked cottonoids in the nasal cavity, which will be kept only for 20 minutes. And this will be done every day, 3 times daily, till the patient, if needed, to be taken to operation theatre. Till that, we'll keep the packs like this, and followed by nasal drops also. Now, when there is severe edema or the eyelid swelling, that will be managed with cold compression. Now, the ophthalmologists, they have few things to suggest. They will say that we have to apply artificial eye drops at least 3 to 4 times daily, and you have to apply eye ointment at night, and if needed eye pad. If they are advised, you have to close your eyes manually and use eye pad also during sleep. Now at the same time IV fluids will be going on. Oral steroids usually no, but there are few indications for that, especially when there is loss of vision, when there is optic nerve involvement. There we will start with oral, or maybe we will straight off start with dexamethasone or methylprednisolone steroids. Now the indication for surgery. As I have already mentioned, the indication being when the CT scan we know there is a definite abscess sitting there, we have to take the patient for surgery. Second, there is eye vision involvement which is progressive. Third, the eye complaint with unexplained fever doesn't subside, and we do a blood test, it shows that the blood counts are increasing, it's not coming down, means the patient is becoming worse. All these are indications for surgery. Now the patient is already admitted, we will take a concern from you, in which it will be written the diagnosis, acute orbital complications secondary to acute rhinosinusitis, which side is involved, and what surgery we are going to do, and what are the complications of surgery. Let me mention a few. One is the infection can spread from the eye, it can persist in the eye, or it can spread from the eye into the brain. 2, they may be bleeding into the orbit. And there may be other secondary complication, like it can press on the orbit and the patient have impaired vision, and very rarely they can develop blindness also. And sometimes other complications are this infection can spread into the from the orbit, it can spread into the brain. So these are the common complications. Now, when the child is admitted or the patient is admitted, we could have already started with all the investigations. When all the investigations are ready, if the patient happens to be a child, he will be taken for pediatric clearance. If it happens to be an adult, patient happens to be an adult, you need to get a physician clearance for surgery. Once that is done, you have to meet the anesthetist who will give clearance for whether the patient is fit for anesthesia or not. Now, this being an emergency surgery, depending upon the situation, we cannot postpone if it happened to be an emergency. So, at least prior to surgery, 4 hours prior to surgery, you have to, you should not take any food or drinks. So, the surgery is going to be functional endoscopic sinus surgery from the ENT point of view. That is, we are going to clear all the particular involved sinuses, and the ENT surgeon is going to drain the orbital abscess transnasally through the nose. Sometimes what happens is, if the abscess or the pus in the orbit, it's in the upper level or posterior into the orbit, posterior part of the orbit, it's difficult to, if it is difficult to approach through transnasally, we need a help of the ophthalmologist where he will have an open approach from the eyelid outside, from the upper eyelid he will approach depending upon the position of the orbit of the abscess. I will show you a photograph later on so that you can understand better. So that is going to be the operation. Approximately it takes about 3 to 3.5 hours. So when you come back to the room, when the patient is back in the ward or the room, for next 4 hours you are not supposed to drink or eat anything. And the meantime, IV fluids will be going on, and this is going to your position, propped up 45-degree position. IV fluids will be going on, and the staff nurse will keep an eye on the vitals and the temperature also. At the same time, IV antibiotics will be going on and painkillers too. Now, subsequent day of surgery, we will start with saline nasal spray, especially so in children. And in adult, we like to give nasal wash 3 times daily. So, if you want to know the details about nasal wash and saline nasal spray, in YouTube, just enter Dr. Zakir Hussain ENT saline nasal spray. And if you want to know the details about this one, just enter Dr. Zakir Hussain ENT nasal wash. You will get all the details. And after 1 week after surgery, you are supposed to start steroid nasal spray also. The technique of using it, the direction of the nozzle, what are the complications of this, if you want to know, please do enter Dr. Zakir Hussain ENT steroid nasal spray in YouTube, you will get all the details. Now, let me show you some patient photographs. One is this child had been diagnosed as subperiosteal abscess, as you see here. See subperiosteal abscess, as you see here. So, this is first day after post-op, first post-op day, second post-op day, third post-op day, patient discharged on the 5th or 7th post-op day. This is other patient here that she has been diagnosed as again subperiosteal abscess here, and this is before surgery, then day 3 and day 4. So, if you see the CT scan, the abscess in the higher side. So, I was not able to approach transnasally. So, I had to call an ophthalmologist who has gone through an external approach. You can see the scar here, you can see the stitch here. This child, unfortunately, on the 3rd or 4th day, she developed a brain abscess, 3rd or 4th day. So, we have already evacuated the whole of orbital subperiosteal abscess, but unfortunately on the 3rd or 4th day she developed intracranial complication, and she had to be operated twice by the neurosurgeon after that. That's why I told you initially, every patient has to be admitted, and we cannot predict that the first 2 stages is going to be purely medical, and we cannot say if the child is going to proceed with other complications or not. Now, coming to the 3rd patient, where you have abscess collection low down here, that's why the swelling is in the lower lid. So, this is day 1 of post-operative, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and day 7th I have discharged him. Now, the last one, here you have an abscess collection, and this is a pre-operative one. So, these are the photographs of few patients. Now coming to discharge advice, you will be advised to take a full course of antibiotic. We will be giving you a full course of 5 to 7 days of IV antibiotic, and during discharge you will get another 5 days of oral antibiotic, which you have to follow strictly. Now along with that you will get oral painkillers also, which you can take if necessary. So steroid nasal spray to be started after 1 week after surgery, and the dose is going to be 1 puff twice on both nostril, nasal cavity, once daily in case of a child, 2 puffs on both sides twice daily in case of an adult. So minimum you are going to take for 1 or 2 months. And nasal wash, saline nasal wash. At home you are advised balanced diet, and try to avoid very hot and spicy food, and try to avoid junk foods also. You have to stay healthy, and whenever you do nasal wash, please do not blow forcefully. It has to be gentle blow only. So this is how we manage case of orbital complications secondary to acute rhinosinusitis. Thank you so much.